Hi, John Maxwell here. On July 4th, my father passed away. And what I'm going to do is share with you a tribute to my dad. And it's the lessons that he taught me. He lived for 98 years and 8 months. The third area that my father just really helped me in, and a lesson that was invaluable to me, was the fact that my dad taught me to be consistent. My father was always the same. He had good days, he had bad days, circumstances that were up, circumstances that were down. But he was steady. He was faithful. In fact, sometimes when I think of my father, if somebody just said you could only describe him in one word, I would probably debate between the word faithful and the word consistent. And yet I can really clump them together, and so can you. If faithful is consistent, and consistent is faithful. And he was consistent in not only his words but his deeds. He had great integrity in the fact that what he said is what he did, and what he did is what he said. So he never sent our family. He never sent us curveballs. We didn't look at him and say, "What just happened there? Oh my, that doesn't seem like Dad." Now, let me just also say that my dad was human, so I'm not in any way wanting to make him a saint. In fact, I can promise you he taught me a lot of great lessons, but all the lessons he taught me weren't maybe the best lessons. So let me just give you one real quick. My father taught me how to drive fast, okay? My dad liked to speed, my brother likes to speed, my sister likes to speed, I like to speed. I'm sorry. We learned that from my dad. My dad, every other year, would buy a car. It was a ritual. Every 2 years, Dad would go down and buy a car. And we loved to go with him when he bought the car because two things. We knew it wouldn't take long. My dad made decisions very quickly. And secondly, we knew that as soon as he bought the car, we'd get in the back seat and he would take us out to Route 22, heading west out of Circleville, Ohio. And he'd turn around to the back seat, and he'd look at the kids, and he'd say, "Kids, let's see what she's got." He'd put that accelerator to the floor, and we'd take off on that little straight road. And he'd get it up to 100 miles an hour, and he'd let off the gas and kind of pull over and turn around and smile at the kids and say, "I think we got a good one. Let's take it home." That was a ritual every other year. And my father, he had a heavy foot. So I'm telling you that because I just want you to know when I'm talking about all the incredible qualities that he had some humanness to him also. He wasn't a perfect man, never even pretended to be a perfect man. He was an authentic man, not a perfect man. But when I look at my father, most of the lessons I'm going to teach you are incredibly positive and uplifting. And I just want you to know that he had a human side too. He wasn't a saint, close. He wasn't a saint. But he taught us to be consistent. And his consistency was rooted in the fact that he had a set of values that he greatly valued. And he had a set of principles that he always followed. And those principles just kept him going straight. And those values, and some of the principles, by the way, some of the values I'll be teaching you in these 3 lessons on my tribute to my father. But those principles helped him to go straight, and those values helped him to stay solid. And so therefore, when I saw my dad, everything was congruent. Everything matched up. It's been a great lesson for me because I feel that consistency is something that is an incredible way to live, but I think so many times it's kind of overlooked. I mean, we seldom get a consistency award, and I suppose if we did, it's not a sexy word. I suppose if we did get a consistency award, we might be a little ticked and say, "Come on, can't you think of better words or adjectives for me like genius or brilliant or charismatic?" I mean, consistency is it's a great word. It's a solid word, but it's not the one we strive for. When you ask people, what do you want to be in life? Very few people are going to say, I want to be consistent. And yet, as I watched my father live for 98 years and 8 months, let me tell you what I know about consistency. It compounds. trust me, if you are consistently good, you consistently compound goodness, and it gets better and better and better. That's a fact. I had a conversation one day with my dad. He was probably about 90, and we were talking in his office at his home, and he said, John, he said, isn't it wonderful? The older you get, the more a person loves people. He said, it's just been wonderful. I'm getting older, but I love more people. I love people more today than I did 20 years ago. He said, isn't it wonderful that as you get older, you just love people more? And I said, Dad, that's not true. I know a whole bunch of people. I'll bet you do too. I know a lot of people. They're getting older and they're not loving people more. Hey, they're getting older, but they're not getting better. Now, it was true for my father because there's a principle here that I want to teach. It's about consistency. He loved people when he was young. He loved people in his middle age. He loved people when he retired. You see, my father, every step of the journey, loved people. Now, here's what I know. If you have a good quality within you, as you get older, that quality expands, it exaggerates, because one of the things that happens with aging is exaggeration. And so the qualities I have in me, if they're good, they grow and exaggerate in a positive way. And the qualities I have within me, if they're negative and bad, they also grow and exaggerate, but they grow and exaggerate in a negative way. In my book, Today Matters, which is sometimes entitled Make Today Count, I talk about the fact that, that I have disciplines in my life, what I call the daily 12 disciplines. And I talk about in the book how that I think it was 3 or 4 of those disciplines I literally learned as a teenager and about 3 or 4 others in my 20s. And I talk about when I learned these and to practice these important disciplines in my life. But the one that I learned last, the one that I worked on and fixed and improved last was my own health. And I didn't even work on it until I was 51 and I had a heart attack. I was always I thought a healthy person. I wasn't a sickly person, that was for sure. And when I had a heart attack at 51, I had a big wake-up call, and all of a sudden I realized, John, you have to live a more healthy lifestyle. You're falling short here. So that was the last maybe good habit I formed, and I didn't form it until 51. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Of all the daily disciplines I have in my life, do you know what today is my most difficult discipline? Healthy lifestyle, eating right, exercising. Why? Because for 51 years, I didn't do it. Now, it's the point that I'm making on consistency, that the earlier we become consistent in good habits, the more those good habits compound in a positive way, just as if I'm consistent in bad habits, they compound in a negative way. And my father taught me the value of good habits and living this incredible, unbelievable, consistent life.